All right, welcome to part 2 of drum replacement in Logic Pro X. So this is an upcoming song that I'm working on, and I'm happy with the way that the snare sounds by itself, but it doesn't sound right with the song. So I'm going to use the drum replacement, and in the last video I showed how to quickly do simple drum replacement. So if you're playing very simple drum parts, it's pretty easy to get a really good sound with the built-in samples that come with Logic Pro X. This isn't a very complicated song either, but there are some ghost notes that if you do the drum replacement, it doesn't sound very natural because again, Logic is just replacing all of the transients with MIDI notes, and so ghost notes just sound like a fully cracked snare with the volume just turned down a bit, or it sounds really pingy. It just doesn't sound natural at all. So first I'll play a little bit of the song so you can hear what the original drum parts sound like. So it's not a very complex song, but again, I wanted to replace that snare, and the ghost notes, they do not sound great when you do that. So let me just do a full replacement so you can hear how that sounds. When I was testing this out, I already have the volume set at negative 14.9 dB, which is giving me the right replacement that I want. But just to show you an example, if I set the threshold to negative 40, you can see all the notes come back. And again, that's how you adjust how Logic will find the transients based on volume. So I'm going to leave it at minus 40. I'm going to leave the snare at the 5th sample here, which is one that I like. Actually, I like sample number 23 as well, but it's it sounds like I'm guessing a 14 by 6.5 steel snare, and it's got a really nice pop to it, but it doesn't fit with this song either. I really like the way that this 5th sample sounds. So I'm just going to do this straight replacement, and now here's how this track sounds. So it's very pingy. It doesn't sound, it almost sounds like you're hitting the edge of the snare and the rim at the same time, and it just doesn't sound as natural to me when it's all put together in the song. So instead of doing that, let me just delete this, and I'll show how you can blend these together. So first I'm going to unmute the original snare track, and then highlight the snare and go into track, replace or double, and I'll set this back to minus 14.9, which is what I had it before. It's set on the 5th sample, and again, the cool thing that you can do is you can go ahead and just play around with the different samples and scroll through them to hear which ones sound better. So I think it was 22 or 23 I was looking at before as well. So that has kind of the sound that I'm looking for, and right now it's just raw. I don't have any processing on that track at all. So you notice after doing that drum replacement, it's just replacing the main hits of the snare, and it's not replacing any of the ghost notes, but it is catching some of these 16th notes here. And the chorus, it's just a heavy chorus, so there's nothing that's getting lost there as well. The ghost notes are really only in the introduction when you can hear it, and then you can hear it in the bridge between the chorus and the verses as well. So if I hit OK and do that replacement, so again, if you're doing the replacement in Logic versus just doubling, I guess I could have just done a double. It just means I have one extra step to do of unmuting this audio portion here. I can play both of these together. So obviously I don't want those main cracks of the snare, and you can accomplish that by using a noise gate. And it's almost like doing a reverse noise gate, if you will. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to use ducking to actually get rid of the loud cracks of the snare on the original track and only allow the ghost notes to come through. So if I turn that gate on, and let me just play a couple of examples here. These are already the settings that I found works really well. So it does, you still do hear some of the rings and some of the decay of the original snare, but it catches most of it. So with ducking set to 0, you can hear the original snare cutting through. And it's just a matter of playing with that until you get the right setting. Hold by default, I think, ended up being at 0 as well. And let me just play this and adjust the volume for the ducking parameter. And now I'll get it back to the setting that I had it at before, and now I'll adjust the hold. So it's not catching everything yet because I need to keep the gate. I need to hold it closed for a certain period of time to get rid of that crack. So it's keeping the ghost notes, and the main crack of the snare is coming from the sample. So I'm just going to solo the original snare so you can just hear that it does catch a bit of the decay, so you can play with the release and the hold to get rid of all of that. So there you go. That's how you can blend these together. And like I said, there's no processing on the replacement drum track at all. But what I like to do is to route the drum parts to a drum bus, and then I can use parallel compression to get a warmer, fatter sound. And then, of course, if I wanted to go ahead and add some EQ, I'll use the new Air EQ Premium here. And then this is going to allow you to, again, tweak some of your settings based on the actual, what do you want to hear? Do you want to hear more ring from the snare? Do you want it to sound brighter? Do you want to increase the body of it? And for me, this suits the sound of the song much more than the snare that was recorded with the Strike Pro. So I had created a custom snare in the Strike Pro when I recorded this one, and I ended up using a 13-inch piccolo-ish sounding snare as the main snare, and then added a big fat pearl 14-inch snare in the second layer of the Strike Pro to try to fatten it up a little bit. But I really wanted kind of a nice higher crack sound, and it just didn't translate well into the song based on what I had in my brain. So this is a pretty easy way that you can use your you can blend some of your original tracks with doing the snare replacement. So hope you enjoyed this video, and leave me a comment if you have any other questions about doing replacements in Logic Pro X. Thanks for watching.